Running is an exercise that has a lot of benefits. It sounds easy, but really it isn't if you think it through. To start running, it can be a struggle. But recently, I've learned some tips that have helped me get back into running, with managing workouts and scheduling runs like clockwork. In this video, I share 5 running tips for beginners. First one I share is about gear. Check out the video to get all the details. Truth is, gear is subjective, and it might take a bit of experimenting to figure out what works for you, including the gear that I'm about to talk about. That being said, the 2 pieces of gear that I wish I had from the very beginning are A, a good pair of running shoes, and B, a running belt. Shoes like feet come in all different shapes and sizes. Some are built for a high arch, some are built for trails, some are built to mimic the barefoot. I was amazed to find running shoes for a plethora of foot problems. Therefore, shoes that work for me might not work for you and vice versa. But that being said, there are a couple of things to keep in mind when you're picking out a shoe if you're going to be running in it. First is, can you wiggle your toes? You should be able to. Is your foot snug? It should be, but not too tight. Do you go over push off your toes or stick your heels down when you run? If you're not sure about how your feet actually move when they're running, I highly suggest going to a running store near you to get fitted for a shoe. You might have to pay a bit more, but at least they'll measure you and fit you for the right shoe. Otherwise, your workout will be half-assed and not very successful. Alternatively, there's an online quiz on where you can find out what shoe would work best for you. I left the link in description. Now let's talk about the running belt. I always struggled to find a place for all the things that I carry when I ran before. Now though, it's easy to keep my phone, ID card and keys right next to me, and not worry about my bag being too heavy or not carrying enough. Armbands were often too small for my Samsung A21s, and way overpriced, and usually didn't even have a spot for my keys. Workout clothes very often don't come with pockets, and that's a shame. So I got very familiar with the sensation of foreign objects being stuffed in my arm as I ran, or even in my hoodie top hat. Which, by the way, I don't recommend because it can fall out while going up and down all the time. I did some research and found the flip belt. They're awesome. It's like a normal belt, but it has pockets all throughout it so you can put your phone, earphones. The pouches are big enough for a regular size phone, snug enough to keep the ID and other cards in place. And it even has a clasp to hang keys on while running. It doesn't slide up the body while running, and can be stretched enough even around waist and hips, with a water bottle in. I linked the flip belt in the description below if you want to get one for yourself. The second thing I wish I knew when I first started running is actually about the food. It took me forever to figure out what and when to eat before I went on a run. Should I eat a big meal? Should I eat a snack? Should I eat anything at all? When should I eat? The truth is, like gear, it's kind of subjective. For me personally, I find that there's 2 things that work really well for me. First, a short run first thing in the morning helps me get my metabolism started. If I'm running without eating anything, I can't go for a very long time, so it pretty much forces me to have breakfast afterwards. Otherwise, I get extremely lightheaded and nauseous. But after a fasted run in the morning, I've actually found that I have quite a bit of energy, and it makes me feel extremely productive and ready to take on the day. One thing I found that really helped me reach my running goals is having a light, carb-rich snack around 30 to 60 minutes before a run. Usually for me, This means eating something like bananas or apples in a timely manner. I found that a light snack gives me a good amount of energy to power through cardio, but it doesn't make me feel sick or heavy like a large meal would. The third thing I wish I knew when I first started running were what apps to use. As a beginner, it can be a little challenging to know which apps will work best for you, but don't worry. There are plenty of options out there to help you make a decision. For me personally, there are 3 apps that I use frequently that I wish I had from the very beginning. Keep in mind, I'm running Android, and these apps might be different on iOS, and or be better or worse on one platform versus another. The first is called Runtastic. Truth is, Runtastic is one of the millions of tracking apps that does everything from tracking your pace to giving you a map of where you've gone, burned calories, and so on. I appreciated the simplicity of their interface, which makes up for an efficient, satisfying experience on a day-to-day basis. I never encountered any bugs or issues when using this app, whereas other charting apps seem to be plagued with them more often. The second is Couch to 5K. This app is perfect if you're new to running and want a really gradual way of building your endurance up. It will start with short intervals of jogging and gradually increase the length, which will get you ready for big distances in no time. It's very easy to use, very simple to understand, and it's a godsend if you're just starting out. The third is Zombies Run. Zombies Run is a unique app that is basically an interactive podcast that you listen to as you run. The premise behind it is that there's a zombie apocalypse that is occurring, and you're one of the runners for a small township that is trying to stay protected from the horde, and you have to collect virtual items for the township as you run. Basically, you're running from zombies. It's a fun app that turns a normally tedious task into something much more exciting and game-like. The last 2 things I wish I knew when I was first starting out running kind of go hand in hand, and they are pace and motivation. Pace and motivation. Before you start running for the first time, it's very common to jump the gun and start at an above-average pace. Once you settle in and can assess your own average speed, it becomes easy to gauge how much harder to push yourself. But if you're running too fast for too long, you'll feel the burn in your lungs, your heart racing uncomfortably, and it will feel impossible to catch your breath. Then you'll slow down, stop, try to breathe, and feel so frustrated with your speed. Instead of trying to go at a lightning fast pace, try focusing on how far you can go instead. The hardest part about running can be your body telling you to stop, and the sweat pouring down your face. It's worth the pain though, because what's a little sweat? My trick around this is to tell myself, oh, I'll just take a break at the end of the song, and then when the song ends I'll tell myself, oh, I can make it to that light pole up ahead. And then when I get there, oh, let's just get around the corner of this block first, and then we'll take a break. The truth is, my body always tells me I can't do it. And every time I myself try my hardest to tell it that it's wrong. Sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay too. At the end of a run, I always feel proud to have accomplished what it is that I am wanting, or trying to do, even if it was just for an hour. At the end of the day, running for me is the embodiment of me telling my body who's in charge, and that I won't stop until I say so. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and subscribe
down below
if you haven't already. And in the comments below, let me know if you have any motivation or tips for anybody else who is just kind of starting their journey with running. And also, if you have any requests for future videos, feel free to leave those in the comments down below as well. Don't forget to tick the like button. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.